And you had to arrive at that decision by thinking. And the way out of the whole mess is to stop thinking. When you have stopped thinking and are in your peace, you can hear the invitations of others, no matter how aggressively they're put forth, to see yourself as condemnable. But you see it as nonsense. And it clearly stands forth to you as a behavior reflecting certain thoughts that one is engaging in about himself and his world that he is caught by, and that it is illegitimate for him to be caught by. And so it does not call forth defense from within you, but calls forth the clarity in you about the truth about your brother, so that you might respond to the underlying ignorance that is causing your brother to try to control you, so that you will be in a way that doesn't offend his definitions. And you become an agent for change. And the way you are an agent for change is benign, is the embodiment of love. You can condemn only yourself, and by so doing you cannot know that you are God's Son. Why? Because in order to condemn yourself, you have to be engaged in thinking, which means that you are still claiming to be an orphan. You're still identifying yourself as an orphan. And as long as you are claiming that you're an orphan by means of your employing judgment, you are consciously denying what you truly are and are still experiencing the disconnect from God. And so you cannot know that you are God's Son. You have denied the condition of His being, which means you have denied the condition of your being. What is your condition? Your condition is that you're nothing more nor less than what God is presencing Himself as right there where you are. And your function is the function of His mind that He's embodying right there where you are, which is love, not guilt. Which is purity, not conflict. Which is that which cannot be caught in limitation. You have denied the condition of your being, with a capital B, which is His perfect blamelessness. That's the condition of your being. That is the condition of your being. Out of love, with a capital L, meaning what the Father is, out of love He was created. You were created. And in love He abides. You abide right now. There is no judgment upon you from the Father. You are not guilty in the Father's eyes. Out of love you were created, and in love you abide. goodness and mercy have always followed him, always followed you. For he, you, has always extended the love of his Father. You see, even though a few of the sons and the daughters of God are swashbucklers on the high seas in their imagination, they haven't stopped being the sons and daughters of God, reflecting God, embodying God. None of you has for a moment ever, in the slightest way, diminished the fullness of God, that God is being right where you are. So you have always extended the love of your Father, the being of your Father. You see, we're still talking about a shift of perception, a shift from body identification to mind identification, from orphanhood to the sonship, from orphanhood to the conscious experience of having a father, of having a source. That is responsible for every aspect of your being. Oh, but as a body, it seems obvious to you. As an orphan, it seems obvious to you that you're responsible for your well-being. And that's why you have to think. You have to think so you can figure out how to be responsible for yourself. You see? Thinking is always a process of problem solving. You think in order to overcome the problem of being. And the problem of being that you're experiencing is this mad idea that you're an orphan, that you're on your own, that you are a body, instead of the infinite, boundless, boundaryless mind in which the experience of body and universe and all of creation is going on. As you perceive the holy companions who travel with you, well, what does that mean so far? Who are these holy companions who travel with you? Well, it is true that you are companioned by the Holy Spirit, and you are companioned by those who are awake. But as you perceive that everyone that's in your experience, all of your brothers and sisters, are holy companions, because in actuality, regardless of how you're seeing them or how they're seeing themselves, they are and must be right now nothing more nor less than the evidence of God being right now, in the act of creation right now, right there where they are and right where you are. You will realize that there is no journey, because becoming equal to the Son of God, or refining yourself, or spiritualizing yourself until you're worthy of being the Son of God, is a bunch of imaginative nonsense. Because all of you on the road thinking you're moving toward your ultimate are the ultimate. So the journey is meaningless. And the only thing called for is for all of you to wake up to the truth right here where you are on the road. Which is why I say so many times, bring innocent eyes to your apprehension of everything, so that you might see the more of what God is being right here, today, now. Because right here on the road that you think you're moving forward on to your ultimate goal is the ultimate, simply waiting for you to see it because you've stopped ignoring it, thinking that it's somewhere down the road at the end of time. And remember, last week I pointed out that the end of time is nothing more than the boundary between your identifying yourself as body and your identifying yourself as mind. The Son of God, who sleepeth not, has kept faith with his Father for you. Who is the Son of God, who sleepeth not, that has kept faith with his Father for you? The Holy Spirit. What is the Holy Spirit? That which is nothing more than your right mind. The Son of God, the real you, who sleepeth not, has kept faith with your Father for you while you pretend to be an orphan. All of what's true about you is true right now, present right now, active right now, and available to you the moment you stop thinking, the moment you let yourself experience silence, the moment you express genuine curiosity. And genuine curiosity is not a matter of saying, what is that? 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 And never shutting up, just being aggressively curious. What is that? What is that? And what is that? And what is that? And what is that? That's not silence. When you have genuine curiosity, what do? You shut up and pay attention. That is the function of mind, isn't it? That is your divine function. And in the absence of all of the jabbering that occurs that you call thinking, in the silence that ensues, you end up being nothing more or less than that which is paying attention, the condition or state of attentiveness. And attentiveness is an invitation for something to enter you, you see. I've said before that there is a place of excellence in you. Divine excellence, ultimate excellence, right here, right now. And we've referred to it as the altar in the very center of you. And this is the place of silence, in which, because there is silence, the voice for truth, the Holy Spirit, that which is nothing more than your right mind, can begin to register with you and bring you into the oneness of yourself. Because in the silent, attentive invitation to know, you've abandoned orphanhood. You've stepped over the boundary between body identification and mind identification. You can be curious about anything and everything that confronts you. It's easy to be curious about a new flower that has just bloomed. It is equally easy to be curious about a neighbor or a friend or anything else that is in front of you during your day. All it means is, and nobody needs to know that you're doing this, all it means is that you're willing to be still and pay attention with a silent invitation to know and see the more that is there than what your definitions have been allowing you to see. So you do not need to go into a monastery or a cave to wake up. You have to be willing to be more present with everything that has been in your daily experience than you've ever been before, minus the definitions you have placed between you and that which you would pay attention to. There is no road to travel on and no time to travel through, you see. But that's the idea. You've got to go on your trek, your spiritual quest, and you're going to go on it moving forward in time. No. That is not going to work, because time is a perception. It is a definition that you have a very strong belief in. The way out of time is to step over the threshold between body identification and mind identification. There is no road to travel on and no time to travel through, for God waits not for his Son in time, being forever unwilling to be without him. Well, we can put it a little bit more direct than that. God is not forever unwilling to be without you. God forever wills to be with you. And if that is God's will, that is what is done. And that is the way it is. No matter what you think. God waits not for his Son in time, being forever unwilling to be without him. And so it has always been. Therefore, so it is now. So not only are you not labeled guilty by God with a guilt that has to be paid for, you aren't separated from him by time or by anything. And so it has always been. Let the holiness of God's Son shine away the cloud of guilt that darkens your mind. And by accepting his purity, whose? The Son of God. By accepting his purity as yours, learn of him that it is yours. Now, let the holiness of God's Son shine away the cloud of guilt that darkens your mind. I want to point something out here. Let's say an injury has occurred, an illness seems to be occurring, misfortune has taken place, and the one to whom it's happened is suffering. And that one comes to you wanting healing. How are you going to heal? Well, I'm going to tell you first of all that if you hold that one to be a body, you're not going to heal. If you hold him in your mind to be an organism that is the current end result of evolution, you are not going to have healing. If you see him as an entity who has not followed the rules and is therefore suffering from having broken the rules, you are not going to see healing. If you see him as a body, whatever he's suffering from has to be legitimate because it's part and parcel of being a body. It's part and parcel of being an orphan. If you're going to see healing there, you are going to have to consider your brother from a different vantage point. You're going to have to be willing, in your mind, to step across the threshold of body identification to mind identification. You're going to have to step across the boundary in your mind of orphanhood to sonship. You're going to have to do that yourself, because that's the only place where your brother will be guiltless. And as long as he is guilty, he has no right not to be suffering, because his suffering is punishment for his guilt. They are inseparable. And I'm telling you that when you take the time to be present with your brother who is in need, and you are willing to step over that threshold from body identification to mind identification, from orphanhood to sonship, you're first of all not going to be engaging in thinking. And you're going to be quiet so that you are receptive to the capital V vision of the truth about your brother. And you will hold him to be innocent. You will find yourself holding him in his innocence, in a conscious, clear awareness of innocence that is God-derived, and that God never withheld or withdrew from him, and that which is therefore absolute right now. You're going to have to take the radical stand, the radical position, the radical, unreasonable position that your brother is guiltless. Why? Because he's not an orphan. Because he isn't what he thinks he is. He isn't even what you thought he was. Even with your best thinking. He's more than that. And you've got to be willing to step across that boundary and join with the Father. And when you do, you will see healing. You call such a step of crossing over the boundary and embracing a completely foreign, this isn't the best words, but a completely foreign mindset. You see that as not natural, as not normal. But until you begin to do it, you will not have the opportunity to find out that you are actually crossing over the boundary into your natural condition, which uncovers the truly natural condition of others to them. And I will tell you that every spiritual healing that has ever occurred has been the evidence of someone not agreeing with the evidence, the behavioral evidence, the experiential evidence, or the physical evidence of sickness, illness, injury, and even death. such a stance has to have been taken. And in all cases, in order for that stance to become established in the one being the agent for change, that one has to have had a love of God first. That one, even if only temporarily, has had to own his place in the sonship and love God so much that he wanted what God is being to be uninhibitedly manifest, no longer covered up, because he loved his brother enough to stop thinking about him and stop misidentifying him and stop looking at him from the vantage point of being an orphan himself. The agent for change had to abandon his orphanhood and let God into him. Continuing. You are invulnerable because you are guiltless. You can hold on to the past only through guilt. For guilt establishes that you will be, future tense, punished for what you have done, and thus depends on one-dimensional time proceeding from past to future. Past to future. History. You are all victims of your history. And you are only victims of your history. You love your history. You value your history. But history is a two-edged sword, we might say. If you have an excellent history, let's say your work history is excellent, and you have worked for excellent companies, and each time you moved from one company to another, it was with a position of advancement and greater responsibility. Your history gives you identity, you see. And of course you need a history to give you identity, because as an orphan, you don't have an inheritance from your father, mother, you see. Your history tells you what you are, and it tells you how good you are at what you are. But you know what? That kind of a history victimizes you just as much as the history of the 3 jail terms you had, the long periods of unemployment that you had, and the periods of employment that you had that were not that great. Nothing to indicate substance and quality to you. You understand that that kind of a history can victimize you, but you don't understand that an excellent history victimizes you as well. In fact, it almost victimizes you more tightly, because pride is attached to it.